everyone. It is Ellen Teresa from Advocate of Soul. And as many of you know, I love the human story and I love to have people on that just have a message and have something that they can really bring to the planet in a way of healing and restoration. And right now, with the way everything is going on our planet, we need people who understand how the body works, how the mind works, how our emotions work, how even just our spirit is sometimes clouded over and covered over with so many different things, and we can't get in touch with who we are. And it is just a real joy and an honor to have Michelle Roberton with me. I met Michelle when I was doing ayahuasca in Peru, and I just really loved her energy. I just love her gentle spirit. I love the wisdom that she comes from, not only from her own life, but also what she can bring to all of us. So without further ado, Michelle, I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm really excited to be here with you today. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
I
no,
feel
it's okay. It's
overwhelmed with just being here and seeing your face. So that in itself is a gift.
Thank you. Thank
Mm.
you. And I would say that your life is a gift. And I have to just say that what I have learned and gleaned from you when I was in ayahuasca has still stayed with me. And your life message and just your story and the things you've walked through, we need that light. We're in need of what it is that you can bring and what you can share. So that's what this is all about. It's about you having a free platform just to share your journey. So now I understand from what you said that you've spent over 20 years working
Mhm.
with sexual abuse and trauma recovery, working
Mhm.
with the body. And I know sometimes when people hear that and they go, oh my God, 23 years, wow. But
Mhm.
it's also come from your own journey as well. We don't sometimes work in areas if we haven't been through things ourselves. So
Mhm.
just share a bit of your background and some of your story with us, please.
Okay. Um, in 2000, I had a universal kick up the bum, as they say. I was very, very sick, and had a near-death experience, after major surgery. And when I came round, I was very, very aware of my body. I had to be because of what the surgery had produced. So all of a sudden, I was attending to my body in a way that I'd bypassed before and disassociated from. Um, and as that happened, my body started to reveal memories, that as a child, I think when we're going through things as a children, we go to a place in between. We're not in our bodies. Um, and it's a coping mechanism, basically. It's kind of a dream place. And so very often we don't remember these things until we're much older. And the memories returned from me once I was literally physically put in charge of my body. Um, so yeah, so that's
Wow.
how it all began in 2000, really, and having to deal with these flashbacks that were coming to me, in very random moments. I was a mother of four. I am a mother of four.
Wow.
So I'd simply be washing up or making dinner or walking down the street, and something would come. So yeah, it was a life changing experience, and although that sounds very difficult, it it is why I am where I am now. It's always, my saying is, out of shit grows beautiful roses. And it's true. So if we can manage to look into the times of challenging and darkness and see what the learning is, the growth that can happen. So yeah.
Can I, and you can, decline to comment on this, but can I ask what the surgery involved?
I was internally bleeding. They had to remove the whole of my colon, um, to only having 3 inches of rectum left. So there was the whole of the colon removed. Um, and I was only 5.5 stone. So they wasn't really sure if I was going to make the surgery. It's a very long surgery. I think it's like something like 17 hours. Um, And it was very strange when I came back because I knew I had died. So not only when I came back was I then very aware of the physical changes of my body. I had a colostomy bag, so I had to look after my body in a way that I had never looked after my body before. To me, my body was an inconvenience. Um, Not so, but as well as that, I was suddenly attuned to spirit, let's say, because I'd had this near-death experience. So I had these two consecutive things happening at a very fragile time. Um, yeah.
So you said that you were disconnected from your body
Mhm.
and you were not even just cognizant of it. It was like just almost kind of like a unnecessary thing you had to drag around. Um,
Mhm.
Explain a little bit more on that, please, because I think a lot of people can feel and go through what you've experienced.
My personal belief and experience is, well, I didn't understand at the time why I was the way I was with my body. I kind of thought that was normal. Um, I would do anything to sabotage it, let's say, whether that was drugs or anorexia, or I didn't take my medication, hence getting so ill. I didn't care for it. And I didn't understand why I was like that. I just was. Um, but I feel when we have experienced sexual abuse or any kind of traumatic childhood, then we see our body as a painful place to be. And so we will do anything to keep ourselves away from it. It's almost like my experience is that when that happened to me from the age of 3, it's almost like the innocence, the innocent left the body to preserve and protect itself. So in essence, innocence, whatever you want to call it. So very much of my childhood was kind of a dream place, I suppose. I can remember some aspects of abuse, the physical violence, and the emotional, but I couldn't remember the sexual abuse. Um, and I feel that as children, we take ourselves this place to cope with that because it's too big for a child to understand or to word. Um, and there has to be some way of staying alive, surviving. And I believe this is why particularly young children disappear from the body, disembody, disassociate. But if that becomes a regular thing, then it's very hard to then attune back to the physical body.
Yes, yes. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, and I would say probably it's been in about the last 5 years that I have been listening to my body like I've never listened to it before. And I would even say from Peru, it really kickstarted it to really
Mm.
become in tune with my body, to really listen to it, to listen to its pains and its groaning sometimes, and all of those things. And I, as one who is a sexual abuse survivor myself, I didn't even know. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. Like I'm 54 and I'm thinking, gosh, it's only been since about like I was like 50, 51 that I've actually been like, oh my gosh, yes, I have a body. Oh my goodness. So
Mm.
how would you bring the idea of self-love into this? Because I think when we learn to love ourselves, and then would that transfer over to our body naturally, or is it something
Yeah.
that really requires work at?
Yeah, I would say I'm at the place now where my body is my most courageous
Mm.
companion
Mhm.
that I have and my most loyal companion. I think the understanding that where whatever has happened to who we are has also happened to our body. So there becomes some compassion, but our body has remained silent and could not respond or react or protect in the way it is designed to at those times. So I think the relationship with the body comes from a more of a compassionate understanding. Um, and I believe like our body is so intelligent. You know, it would do those things when we're experiencing sexual abuse as a child or a traumatic event, to protect us. It's very, very intelligent. So it's to start to have reverence for our body. It is like a prayer. I don't know. It's bigger than self-love. Um, because self-love is such a key word, it's such a fad thing now where, oh, you have a hot bath. And
Yes. Oh,
you know, it's much deeper, it's much richer than that. Yeah, and saying it's intelligent, the body is innocent. So the way I was able to come home to my body was to know it was as innocent as a child. And I would not treat my children the way I was treating my body. And all of a sudden, things just turned around for me. I began to have a nourishing relationship with my body, a nurturing relationship with my body. I was able to listen to its needs as I listened to my children and attend to those needs. I put my body above everyone else and what they expected. There were so many ways in which, okay, my body's a child, it's innocent. All these things have happened to it as they've happened to me. And so, with the reflection that my body is like a child, I could therefore, okay, this is the way I treat my children. So, this is the way I relate with my body. It gave me a reflection point, a point to keep coming back to. And so, that's how I share with others in bringing them home to their body, is to change their perspective that the body isn't the cause of the pain. The body was in pain and that it was helpless and hopeless just as we were,
hmm.
and did the only thing it knew to protect us, which was to chuck essence out.
Wow. There's so many things, so many places. So
Sorry.
no, no, I love it. I love, no, 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 no. Please, please. Your story is powerful. Um, so how did you become compassionate with your body? Because I think about people I know who are working 70, 80 hours a week, okay, and they are running their bodies into the ground. And I've done the same. I've done it myself. It feels like society doesn't gear itself for compassion upon your body. It's like you just pull up your bootstraps, girl, and here you go. So
Mm.
what what have you learned within your own journey? How did this happen? How did you bring compassion? Did you use certain techniques? Did you talk to your body? What did you do?
I mean, I have a daily lifestyle, and it's had to be that. I had to create a daily lifestyle that meant I was able to wake up in the morning and spend time being with my body, breathing, noticing how that sensation of breath felt in my body. If it caused some anxiety, I was able to meet that anxiety, or it may have brought some tears or some relief. It was just spending time, okay, I'm here in my body, here is my breath, here is my chest, here is my belly, here is my feet. And that also started to rewire my nervous system as well, and kind of starting my day every day like that. And I have done now for just under 25 years. It sets the tone of the day. So I'm in much more of a listening place, and my body is a compass kind of place. And that grows with time. It's not like, you know, I've tripped up. We all fuck up, excuse my French. And
Mhm.
that gives us an opportunity to go, okay, well, that must be really working for me because now this feels terrible and this is not where I want to be. So you jump back on. But I would say a daily lifestyle is absolutely key. And people do say they don't have time, but We breathe every day, every second. We have time to watch TV, and it's where our priorities are. And I knew that I couldn't continue the way I was if I wanted to live, see my children grow up, witness I now have grandchildren. It was just, I knew I had to make that choice. And for my own sanity, I think.
Mm. Mm.
And it's just brought so much to have a daily lifestyle. Um, because in the body, when we're so embodied and so grounded, our experience of life becomes so childlike again. Like, I don't know, just our relationship with nature, our awe, our wonder, our curiosity, all of a sudden there is this safe place that is totally sacred and our own safe place. It's our home. It's the only one we're ever going to have. And it's been consistently there and consistently breathing. And it means now I feel safe here. I can explore the world safely. And when we've been abused, the world is suddenly unsafe, but also the body is suddenly unsafe. So if we can allow the body to start to feel safe and the world starts to feel safer, it's not the other way around. The world won't feel safe if we don't feel safe in our body.
Oh, that's key right there. You just said it. So, what were some of the symptoms, I guess you could say, the somatic things that you would feel, the visceral things in your body that you knew that you were not feeling that safe? I mean, sometimes we can go right here so quickly in our mind and we can reason it all out. But what was showing up for you in your body? Was it tiredness? What did it look like for you?
Before the flashbacks,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I thought I thought being as skinny as I was and not eating very well, I just thought, oh, that was normal. I didn't know any different because that had been happening since the age of 3.
Mm-hmm.
So my relationship with my body up until the flashbacks came was normal, even though it wasn't how I fed my children or cared for. It was very functional. It got washed, it got dressed and looked presentable. It got fed on measly amounts. My body was a functional thing, and everything was functional. Sex, everything felt very functional up until that point.
And then when the flashbacks started,
Mm.
what happened? What did you notice within your temple itself?
I would feel the experience. I've realized I am a very feeling creature, and we are when we're children. We're not thinking creatures, we're innately feeling creatures. And so I would feel things. Something like an image would come, but it would be so small. But the feeling I would have in my body, it was overwhelming. It would floor me, but I would know exactly what it was. And the feeling would come in an area of my body. Um, and I don't know how I knew. I would go, I know that. Um, yeah, I knew what that feeling was.
So would it be pain? I can say for me that there will be like sometimes certain shaking that can happen in my body. I can have tremors, all sorts of different little things.
Yeah, a
Push
lot of it
through.
was, I suppose, arousal sensations, which then brought up shame,
Mm.
fear, panic, um, being covered with a pillow. Um, yeah, the flashbacks, the images themselves were snippets. They were pieces. Um, but it came to a point where it wasn't important for me to see the whole picture, and it wouldn't have been helpful for my healing to see the whole picture. So many people say to me, I want to know what happened. And we don't have to know every single small detail of what happened to us. It's more about supporting the body to release the cellular memory because when something happens to us as severe as sexual abuse, it is happening to our body. So our body is experiencing all these sensations. And so they were what was coming to me, a smell, and I'd get a sensation around my vagina, around my anus, around my throat. Yeah, it was always a bodily sensation that was triggered by a smell, a sound, or a flashback. And at the same time, my daughter was, as she turned 3, it started to get more and more because she's a spitting image of me. And I now know that when our children hit the age that we were when abuse started to happen, when they're the same gender, then it starts to trigger our own cellular memory. So as she was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's almost like my little girl, who I was as a little girl, was beside her. It was quite challenging. Yeah, I felt quite awful at the time that my daughter's face was having such an effect on me. Yeah.
And you talk about shame. Shame. Um,
Shame.
oh,
I think of shame keeps us in a dark place, and it keeps us in a place where we don't feel lovable, touchable, worthy. Um, but shame it's almost like it's a dark, dirty secret, something that we worry if we spoke out, people would turn away from us. Um, and so when we start to speak out and people don't turn away from us and they still hold us and, tell us that they still love us, then shame has no place. It can't exist. Shame is because we are keeping that part of us secret because we fear the other person's or people's reactions and responses. So that's
so
my
would you say that the fear of those reactions could be quite possible because when you've wanted to say something before, maybe
yeah,
you were blamed for
totally.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. One of the memories I had was speaking to my infant school teacher. So it was my first school teacher and speaking to her, and then my mother saying that I had a vivid imagination, and then being at home when I was punished. So I never spoke out again after that. And so, yes, we can also keep our voice small and not speak out because we're afraid that we will get the same reactions from people, or people won't believe us, or they will think we're disgusting, dirty, whatever, or maybe we were to blame. So at first, it was really about who could I trust and who could I trust to speak to. I was very particular about who I reached out to, and that's important. And then you start to realize for yourself that shame has no place, particularly like there is no way any of that is our fault when we're children. No way. And the shame we are carrying is often because we feel responsible for what happened to us. And as soon as we hand back that responsibility to the adults who were in a place to know better, then again, shame loosens its grip. Shame is a process. It's not you have shame one day and you don't the next. It's almost like loosening its grip, and it loosens its power because you are like, no, no. And every time you say no to shame, it has nowhere to attach itself to. It can't hold your voice anymore.
Do you believe that some of the shame that you experienced was generational as well? Would you say that there was some of that in your family lineage?
Um, yes, a lot. It came out after speaking. I mean, I knew some of it as I was growing up that this had happened in a few generations prior to me on my mother's side. So yeah, that was another thing to work through, which is why I turned to plant in the end, because generational trauma to release from the body is quite challenging with body work. It can be done with breath work, whereas plant went straight to the root of generational trauma, and it was really important for me to attend to that before my granddaughter was born. So even though myself and my siblings haven't carried on that behavior, I could still feel a thread of it because it has affected our children. We haven't done that to our children, but it has really greatly affected their lives in a different way. So I think generational trauma can come to a stop. I don't believe that it's something that has to go on for generations and generations.
And it sounds like to me that you're putting stops in place. You've been doing that now, saying, no, I'm not going to have this passed down. No, I'm not going to continue this type of behavior. No, I don't want those ways of thinking and being and living and doing. Like it sounds like to me that you've used different techniques and practices that have actually enabled you to put the boundary, to say no, no.
Yeah,
I
because
mean, in my family, I mean, interestingly, we have a history of um, brushing things under the carpet, so to speak. So no one talks about anything, like we don't bring it up. And as I started to walk through some of my healing process, and this was before even connecting with the body, I mean, it was very much there, it was right in my face. We don't talk about those things. And that isn't even, what are you talking about, Ellen? No, no, no. And so there'd be a lot of this like brushing it off as though it's nothing. And boys just do these things, or, it's just, and so why do you feel, possibly in your own opinion, why you feel that we have been so conditioned to not talk about these things, to be silent, to not ruin the family's reputation, or but it's all going on. Why have we been conditioned not to talk about it?
I just feel, from personal experience, myself and my brother were not allowed to be part of the family anymore. And that hurt, but it didn't stop me from speaking out. And I think it's because we're so good at passing the buck.
Yes, we are.
And humans do not want to take responsibility for their own behavior. It's almost like they don't have the balls to. And I think it's really important. And so my taking responsibility for my behavior was coming to terms that what happened to me was something that happened to me. It didn't define who I was, because sexual abuse can become our identity, and we believe that it's who we are. It's not who we are. It's something that happened. And so the gap between that happened and this is who I am had to be made. And that meant handing back responsibility to other people. It doesn't mean that those people had to say, yes, I did that, or I am sorry. I I had to cut off how other people responded and reacted, or didn't want me around in their life anymore. And that was their responsibility. That wasn't mine. My responsibility was my own, living who I am, not what sexual abuse designed me to be. I want to be who I was created to be by the universe. I don't want to be what humanity designed me to be. And there's a big difference in coming home to that light and that truth of who we are. So yeah, humanity is very good at passing the buck. We see it in government, we see it everywhere. It's always someone else's fault. Always. There's always someone else to blame. And we just have to choose for ourselves not to be that person. to take responsibility for our own actions, our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own journey, and that's theirs. And if they don't want to deal with that, that's fine. But here I am and I'm dealing with it. And I think that needs to be one of our boundaries that we create. Otherwise, if I kept listening to, it was so long ago, you can't prove a thing, was one of the things I got. Or you always had a vivid imagination. This will kill your grandmother. If I'd listened to those, I wouldn't be here now. And they were adults, just as I'm an adult. I think being a mother as well has really taught me, when my children say, you did this and it hurt me, I say, I'm really sorry. I had no idea you felt like that. And I'm really glad that we're having this conversation and you can tell me how that felt for you at the time. And now I know how you felt at the time. We can work around that together. But this is a new thing that we can do as conscious people moving forward. There's no way some people of the past are ever going to have that conversation with their children or their loved ones.
There's a lot of victim consciousness very much everywhere. And I would love for you to speak into this, because this is something that I've been walking through in different areas, is the fine line between reconciling what is your part and what is the other person's part. Because when someone says, well, they did this to me, so can't you see this was done to me? Like, it's them, it's all them, it's all them. There has to come a place where we can bridge that and reconcile that. So what does that look like?
So although I handed back responsibility to my parents for their behavior and I've taken responsibility for myself, there has to be the bridge of compassion. And this may be hard for some people, but forgiveness. That's not saying that I agree with their behavior at all. The compassion and forgiveness means that I understand why they are the way they are, and they were who they were. Same as my children have an understanding of why I was the way I was when they were little and going through all these things. They understand. And so with that compassion, there can then be forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean you're saying that behavior was okay. It gives freedom and it gives peace. Because all the time I was in a space of unforgiving, what was happening was I could feel that in my body. So it was a toxin in my body. It didn't, most of these people couldn't give a shit whether you forgive them or not. They don't, because if they've got that mentality to violate and abuse, then they don't care about forgiveness. But what forgiveness does is create peace within our own system, within our own nervous system, and within our own bodies. And then there can be love. So compassion and forgiveness and love, because they're important. We are love. That's the most human desire, to love and be loved. And if we cannot go through compassion and forgiveness, then our heart is closed still and we're protecting ourselves and we're not loving and we're not being loved. So they're very important steps in bridging that gap and coming out of, I'm not a victim and I don't even feel I'm a survivor. I feel there's too much weight we put on a lot of words these days, like trauma. I mean, everyone is saying they have trauma because their mother didn't look at them often enough or something. And I think there needs to be something that happens here. There are people that have really experienced trauma, who have been raped, who have been to war, who've had loved ones murdered. That's trauma. And then we have the other things that kind of most humans have to go through to evolve and learn, because that's what we're here for. But everyone has a victim consciousness these days, and everyone has is traumatized and everyone has mental health. It's kind of, we've gone from one extreme where no one gave a crap to the other extreme where everyone's got it. And so now we need to find balance in the middle, which is normally what happens. The pendulum swings one way and then the other, and it comes to a place. So yeah, I'm not a victim and I'm not a survivor. I just, that happened and I am now happening.
Thank you. Thank you for what you shared because, I'm thinking about when I opened the podcast up and I said something about, being a survivor, it was because I was just kind of like, wait, but I've actually been talking a very similar language to you that I can't even go there. I have a hard time. I have a hard time even looking at it from that angle. I too have been coming to this place where it's like, no, that was an event. That was something that did happen to me. But it hasn't robbed my soul. It hasn't robbed my spirit. It can't touch that part of me. And that part of me is blameless. And that part of me is innocent, as you've been speaking. And there's just something so powerful about reframing all of these things. And my partner, she's a psychotherapist. And she just talks about the amount of people, that just keep getting diagnosis after diagnosis. It's like everybody's got something because they maybe are nervous. They now have anxiety disorder, or maybe because, and when we start tacking those things on, and I've done it myself, I did it to myself years and years ago. I just would keep putting this thing on me because it was a way of me trying to understand it, trying to grapple with it. But when it becomes your identity, then that's all you're formed out of, and you can't move past that. I believe that these labels, like you're talking about survivor and all these things, bring you to a ceiling, and you and you just keep banging up, against the ceiling, and there isn't that healing, there isn't that wholeness that we already are on the inside. We're already whole on this inside. So I love. Anyway, I just wanted to comment. Go ahead.
It limits us when we have these labels and then we live to them, rather than, as you're saying, okay, I have had this diagnosis or I survived that. But as soon as we identify, like you say, we're in a box or we're in a jam jar, we've labeled ourselves and that's it. So yeah, one thing that really came was that my body in the present moment was hostage to the past. It was experiencing all these feelings and sensations and memories because my body was still hostage, and that's how it felt for me. And I'm no longer a hostage. My body is no longer a hostage because there's this sense of freedom to that. There's a sense of recovery. A lot of these things people wear like a badge. I'm a victim, I'm a survivor, and what they're not realizing is there's a point to claim that so we can have an understanding of what our pathway is and what our journey needs to look like. And there's also time to let that go. Otherwise, we will always be a victim and always be a survivor.
Yes.
Mm.
So in your bio, you had written that you do tantric work and you do different work with different people. And so we're going to shift because I'd like to know the work that you do with people, and how you help them walk through the shit as well and come out the other side knowing and believing who they really are isn't what they have come from.
Okay. Well, I believe we can only guide people where we've been and where we've walked. And so I feel like people's bodies instantly trust me because they know the body knows I am leading it to a place where this body has been. I don't know how else to describe it. Say someone has not grown and has not been through, then it's something in our psyche that knows that they're just they're preaching, basically. They haven't lived it and they haven't come through to the place. It's almost like a child. If we're leading a child down a road, the child's thinking, well, have you been here? Can I trust you? Where are you taking me? So I feel people's And this is feedback that I receive, that people trust me because they know where I've been and they can see and feel where I am now. So they know I am taking them where I have been, and I'm not going to take them into fear or more trauma, um, because, and if that happens for them, I can be there beside them. I don't know, there's just this deep trust. Um, so the work I share is really listening to the body, and supporting someone to come home to their body and feel safe in their body. And that's through body work. Simultaneously to that, I teach, because there's no point going to a therapist and not knowing how the hell to do it yourself. So I support in creating a lifestyle so that they can create this deep listening with their own body. It's important to me that people have where I am and how I feel and how I can relate with my body. It would be wonderful if the whole world could do that. How different everything would be. So yes, it's through body work and breath work and teaching. There's always the teaching. It's kind of like being a midwife, a doula, really, like really helping someone to birth their essence into their body, conceive their essence back into their body. Birth, sorry, is conceive who they are back into their body and trust their body, and start to feel safe in the body and then feel safe in the world around them and relationships.
You mentioned body work, and I know that there's going to be people that will say, well, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Um, okay, so it's a whole body, every single part of the body is caressed. No part is untouched, and that's because we've been told that this bit is for sex and that bit is for blah blah. Whereas we want the body like when we were children, and children haven't separated or shamed any part of their body. And so to come back to that innocence, we have to feel that sense of wholeness in our bodies again, and not separate or shame any part of our bodies. And this touch supports that, as well as that anything that is in the body that's resisting our wholeness is resisting wholeness. It's almost like my hands are like ears, and I can feel where that is and what memory is related to that. And then I can support the person to work with that memory and release it. Or it may be at that time that all that person needs to do is access the breath that they couldn't at that moment of that traumatic event, and then it's gone. And the body is very, very good at clearing cellular memory and releasing and re-establishing itself. It's when we go on and on and on and on and on with a story and conversations, the body is like, whoa, it's happening again, it's happening again. So it's almost like we can keep our body in a place, whereas it knows how to move out of tension. But very often we keep it in tension through our
You
stories.
so are you hugging people at
No, it's skin, it's touch, it's whole body touch. Sometimes it'll feel like a caress, sometimes it'll feel like deep tissue, sometimes it'll feel like I'm more or less touching your bones because there's memory in the marrow. Sometimes it'll feel like energy. It's broad how it goes, but the overall thing is that from your toes to your top of your head, there will be touch on the back of the body and the front of the body.
I remember you doing something with me when I was at ayahuasca. And,
Mhm.
and I remember that, and it was intense, and it set me on definitely a very different course, within the relationship with my body. And
Mm.
I can say here, and this is not me like plugging for you, but it's just me saying that, yeah, there was safety. There was a real sense of safety. I was nervous, as I'm sure everyone is when this begins to happen. But there was truly a sense of like, okay, I can lean into this. It's okay. I can lean in. And I could have done even more. Now, I think about it now, I think back on that whole experience. I'm thinking, man, I could have done a whole lot more. But what I experienced from you at that moment was what I needed at that moment to help me just realize. And you know what the sense was too? And I don't know if other people have told you this, but it was like the sense of really being seen,
Mm.
like the hand on the hand or the hand here, or the different places you did things. I felt so seen, so seen.
Yeah, it kind of is like that. It's like polishing. It's supporting someone to remove what is in the way of their true essence, their true self. It's almost like, there's all these layers over who we really are. And the body is holding all of those. And so when we're touched without agenda and unconditionally, which is very, very rare. Normally people touch because to get, or someone touches us and we wonder what they want. But when we're just touched in a very unconditionally loving way, then the body can relax and start to feel ease. And when our body relaxes and feels ease, we make space. And in that spaciousness, more of our essence can be embodied.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when something is removed, it's very important to put back in.
Mhm.
So here we go. I'm going to ask you. So what do you put back in?
Well, because in the spaciousness, then the person has more space to be present. They start to attune to their body in a new way and build a new relationship through the teachings as well. Um, the body work is weekly, and it's a journey. And in between the week, they have audio from me and conversations. So it really is like having a pregnancy where you have this midwife or this doula with you every step of the way while you're coming home to yourself. It's not just going for a weekly body work and someone making you feel better. It's a co-creation. And that co-creation is very individual because everyone's body trauma and body armor is different. So to say this is exactly how it would look is very, very challenging because I don't know until that person is with me. And everything is then tailored and adapted around that body healing and releasing and making spaciousness for what is true to come home.
On average, how long does someone work with you? I mean, is it like a month? Is it 2 months?
I would say minimum. I mean, this has been 23 years, so I've kind of noticed what works and what doesn't work. And for me, this isn't, obviously there's a charge, a financial charge, but for me, this is my love. It's if I was a dancer, it's my dance. So I've noticed that the minimum of 6 sessions is good. Again, that depends on how people have already worked they've done as well. So that may change, but 6 seems to be the average. And it's regular and weekly because it's like everything I attend to the body as I would my children. So like when there's a routine and there's regularity, the body goes, oh, I'm safe. I know this drink. I know this music. I know this touch. And the next week it comes and it goes, oh, I know this drink. I know this music. I know this touch. And so the body drops. It's like dropping your child off at nursery. Every time they go, they relax a little more. So yeah, some people come for more than 6. Some people come for 12. Some people come and then disappear for a bit and really play with what they've learnt. And then they might pop back when something else, for one session, when something else arises, because things do. Um, but they know they have the
Men
place to come
and
back.
women? Do
Sorry?
you work with men and women?
Yes, I do. I also work with couples because very often there'll be a member of that partnership that's you know, sex is very important in a relationship, not just the act of sex, but the sexual energy and the way it flows between two lovers. And if one lover is in a different place to the other, then that can cause a disharmony in the relationship, not in the bedroom, but in the relationship. So I work with couples as well, because that quite saddens me when one partner will feel that something is wrong with them, and will be doing everything they can when really all they want to do is run away. So for me, it's all about creating safety, safe environment of the body, safe environments of the environment we're in. And then things like sex and our sexual energy and our innocence wants to come out and play. We don't have to do very much. Once we've created the safety, everything's like, yeah, I'm going to come and play because I feel really safe. So safety is always the first step.
Yes.
Feeling safe. Not, oh yeah, I'm safe, but actually really, wow, I feel safe.
Yes.
Mm.
Thank you, Michelle.
It's okay. I'm just loving talking to you and looking at your face.
It's just a joy. I have a few questions.
Mhm.
A couple people sent me. Can I send you a?
Yeah.
Okay, so um, but this is one. So let's see. Let's see what did they. Okay, so sorry, I'm reading it. Okay, so somebody said, you speak about finding the medicine in the poison.
Mm.
So in your experience, they kind of have a really long thing here.
Okay.
Um, in your experience, for someone who maybe is new to all of this and they're like, I have no idea what this woman's even talking about, what can they do by themselves, even before they even were to reach out to you? Because that's really, I think, where this person's going. What can they do within themselves?
Mm. The first step is acknowledging that they want to release themselves from past sexual abuse. Um, yes, that first step is the realization that they want to. And that's quite a challenging question. At the time when I started, none of this was available for me. I saw a lot of people, and it actually made me a shit ton worse. And so it's almost like my body and my essence have created this for me, and then I'm able to share that with others. Um, that said, the first step is safety, as I've been saying. So if someone wanted to start with themselves, one of the first things was notice how you talk to yourself. Because very often the way we talk to ourselves, we would not dream of talking to our loved one, our child, our dog, and yet we will have these internal conversations with ourselves. And when we can start to notice how we talk to ourselves and we can take a pause and make a new choice, everything is a present moment of making a new choice. We can't kind of say, oh, I'm going to do that when I talk badly to myself. We have to do it then. I've just spoken really badly to myself. I'm going to change that. I'm going to tell my body that I love my body. The way we touch ourselves is in the present moment. Instead of having a functional shower, why don't we slow down and really have reverence for our body? It does so much for us, and it is a celebration. So it's a miracle. So there are little things we can start to do. But as we start to create this safety in the way we speak to ourselves and the way we touch ourselves, it means the body will go, okay, I trust you now, I can talk to you. And that's when we'll need help. It's the same as the more safety we create for a child, the more a child will go, I trust you. I can tell you what's hurting me now. And if we can keep reflecting on our bodies like a child, then we have a lot more compassion towards our body, a lot more sensitivity, a lot more patience.
Patience. Yes, I'm learning a
Yeah.
lot through menopause. Okay.
The medicine in the poison for me meant that that time of my childhood could be classed as poison, but there was medicine in it. I'm not saying if I live this life again, I would choose that, but out of that poison has grown this woman, and that's the medicine. It's how we choose to look at things. Are we going to look at the shit, or are we going to look at the roses that can grow out of the shit?
Mhm. If people want to find you and reach out to you after this, how can they get in touch with you?
So there's that question. There's my websites.
Okay.
Or if you want to share my email address, that's fine.
Okay.
Usually after someone emails me, we'll have a telephone conversation. I think that's really important. Again, that's to ensure that they feel safe when they listen to me. And by the end of the conversation, feel calm and that they feel, yes, this is the lady I want to work with. So that's the way it usually flows. I will receive an email and we'll organize a conversation. And
What is your
sometimes
website for people?
there is Sacred Tantric Touch, which is more based on the tantric kind of initiation side, and there's also Michelle Roberton, which is easy,
Yeah.
which is more based on the difference between sexual trauma and sexual abuse, and how both those things can be met.
Well, I will put those in the description of the YouTube so that, people can find you and can reach out to you. And Michelle, I feel like I could talk to you for hours on end. I'm going to end this, but I just want to say it's been a real joy and a pleasure just hearing you and hearing the depth of knowledge you have. And it's something that you've embodied, and I can tell that. When you listen to someone, it's kind of like, okay, I don't know where they're coming from. It sounds like they were just coming from a classroom, but your classroom was life itself. And you've had to learn to apply that, and you've taken many tests, and you've retaken tests, and you have graduated in many different areas. And I just want to say I really just honor you and honor your process and honor your journey. And I'm just so thankful that you were here today for all of us to hear.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.